Are you ready?
Starting now?
Well, now you just messed it up, you knob. God, you know that the shit that we go through for this, huh?
I know. Fuckers better appreciate it. When we started, we were just like, yeah, we're just going to do this, man. You know, shoot our wad into the wind and see what happens. What's the title of this podcast again?
I don't know. Objects, I don't know. Something with a penis, I guess.
Right.
Our fucking faces are everywhere now.
Right.
You know, but
You're welcome, ladies.
Right. Popular with the ladies. Right. Oh, I'm not even going to apologize because hopefully it sounds fucking hilarious.
Yeah, totally. This is fucking explicit now.
The explicit button. Let me use my finger.
La, 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 la.
It is time for another episode of Sober, Not Mature. And that episode starts now. All right, everyone. Welcome once again to another episode of Sober, Not Mature. And this week, yes, we have a guest. Guess who? Has anyone been paying attention? It's Mara, our really, really good friend from Cleveland. So you got two really, reallys in there, Mara. So I know. Yeah,
a lot to live up to.
I know, right? The deuces.
Yeah, you are a deuce. That's for damn sure. You walked into that one. But real quick, just introduce yourself, name, where you're from, just a real quick intro, and then we'll get started, okay?
Sure. My name is Mara Sankin, and I'm from Cleveland. Is that all you wanted to know?
All right. Yes. You know, it's funny. Sometimes people will go on for like 5 minutes and other people go on for 5 seconds. So I never know what to expect. So that was of the 5-second variety. But no, seriously, I know we've had a handful of other people on from Cleveland. So you're just another one and hopefully a long list of friends, you know, that we've had on from the Cleveland area. And it's always fun. It's fun to have people on because Cleveland is obviously still Mike's home, and you know, where both of us got sober, so it's cool.
And we're all here.
We are still after all these years.
Right.
Yeah, I'm actually in Cleveland this weekend. Not something we really need to talk about right now. Maybe we will at some point, maybe we won't. But I am in Cleveland. I'm at Mike's right now, so. And I thought about that. It's probably not even something we need to mention at this point. But yes, we're all, Mike and I are under the same roof. But yeah, this, right. I don't think.
And Mara's like a mile away.
5 minutes. I know. Yeah. I could come over. I should just have come over there. You can stick me in the basement.
Right.
I was just going to ask you why, yeah, with the bag, with the lotion and the basket, we got a hole down there for you too. So
I'm sure you guys have all the lotion. Don't act like you're going to share that lotion.
Do you want to come over afterwards? We'll put you in the hole.
Oh, that's so loaded.
I know. That's why I wanted to get your reaction. Okay, Mike, save me here before I say something else stupid.
Mike,
I'm not that powerful.
Yeah, help your boy.
All right, so I'll say something stupid later, but for now, Mike, let her know how this whole thing runs, okay?
All right. Well, you know, she's a Cleveland person, so we don't have to go too deep into it, but basically, we know how to get fucked up. We know how to fuck up our lives and the lives of everyone around us. We don't care about that. We care about the solution. But we do want a little background because we know you, but most of the people listening don't. So, you know, tell a little bit about yourself, what it was like, all that happy crap, and then we'll move along.
Okay. Well, I am. Well, in September, I celebrated 9 years of sobriety.
Yay.
September 17th. Thank you. Which is wild.
Super yay.
Thank you. Super. I get the two. So. You know, the reason why I'm so proud of this 9 years, I guess, is because I originally got sober when I was 18 in 1994. So my original sobriety date was December 28th of 1994. I was 18 years old. It was 4 days after my 18th birthday. And I actually went without a drink for 17 and a half years and eventually picked back up. So I'm not going to say that I was sober. I was sober off of alcohol for all those years, but I was not working any type of recovery program. I was attending meetings and going to functions, and I was very active in the fellowship, but I had no program in my life. And I really didn't understand the concept of differentiating the two, if that makes sense. I do now.
Right.
I do now. But I had a lot of sodriety. I like to say sodriety. I was so dry.
Nice.
Yeah. And just,
hang on 1 second here. I've never heard that before. How would you spell that? So I'm going to write that down. That's going in the description. So dry.
I would say Sodriety.
So dry. I like that. Okay. So just, All right. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to interrupt that story, but that made me laugh.
No, you're
Sodriety. Oh,
yeah,
Sodriety.
That was me all day long. Like I was
crispy.
I was miserable. Oh my God. So miserable. Like really thinking that I was doing the damn thing and not understanding why I was so fucking miserable. Just, can I say, I could say fuck. It's okay.
Oh, yes, you can.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fuck,
yeah,
yes.
Please. Fucking miserable,
right.
dude. Yeah. Like, I was the biggest piece of shit. And there literally was not, in that 17 and a half years, there was literally not one job that I left ethically. Every job I was either fired from or just walked away from. Every job I worked, I was dishonest. You know, I can't even conceive of lying about something now. Like it would just eat my spirit away if I lied and knew that I was lying. I lied all the time. I can't tell you how many times I buried my grandma. I had so many grandmas.
Right. I had a few too.
Yeah, but I was not drinking or using. So I was just an untreated alcoholic. You know, I spent the first 10 years, the first 8 years of that 17 in Narcotics Anonymous, which I will never dog another fellowship because they all help people.
Right.
So I'm not going to say that I didn't stay clean in their lingo because of that. I picked up because I was not working a program. So about 14 years in, I went on a cruise to Mexico and got off the boat and immediately made a beeline for the Pharmacia and bought some somas and something on the boat that the guy said was like Mexican Quaaludes. And I took them, but came back and still claimed sobriety because in my mind, it didn't count because it was Mexico. And kept sponsoring women and then eventually picked up booze and went off the deep end in 2012. I'm sorry, 2012. So, you know, I was not 100% sober all of those years. I did pick up narcotics, but it was Mexico, so it didn't count. It did count. I'm just saying that was my rationale. I had.
Well, I'm glad it counted because, you know, I'm going to be there in less than a week.
Oh, good for you. Yeah, I had major back surgery in 2006. And for a brief period of time, 2 or 3 days, the doctor prescribed me somas and I didn't abuse them. But in my mind, I felt like, okay, well, I had this unlimited right to take them forever, I guess. I don't know. But that's what not treating your alcoholism will look like in your crazy head. You'll be a liar, a cheat, and a thief, and not have a drop of alcohol in your body. So I will tell you that this time around, when I burned my life to the ground in 2 years, lost everything, went from having a 5-bedroom house, a career as a drug and alcohol counselor, a husband, a child, pets, all of the things, to living at the Jean Marie house, which is basically the female version of the Rock where you guys went. It's the women's house, and which meant that I was homeless because no one would claim me but Katie Patton. You know, no one else wanted anything to do with me. And, you know, my mother didn't want me in the house. My family, I wasn't allowed to see my daughter. My husband was shipped off to live with his mother. And my animals had to be euthanized because I wasn't taking care of them. And I literally lost everything in a very, very, very short period of time when I came back in September of 2014. So I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt I had to do it right this time or I was going to be miserable for the rest of my life. Because I'll tell you one thing that was not happening. I was not dying, which is what I wanted. I was hoping I would shoot some dope and die, but I just kept waking up. So I decided to work a program, and here we are.
Imagine that. Here we are 9 years later, right?
Here we are. Yeah. It's beautiful.
So during that first run that you had, and I know you said you weren't working a program, but you were going to meetings. So basically, just a little bit more detail there, kind of like what you would consider maybe filling a seat, but trying to work with people, possibly still, because you were using during that time frame every once in a while, or just let me
No,
just ask
at
that
the
question.
end is when I picked up the pills. And then at the very,
Okay.
very end is when I picked up the booze. So I probably picked up the pills in 2010 and picked up booze in 2012. So from 94 to 2010, no drugs, no alcohol in my body.
Okay. But again, the whole thing with the Sodriety, which I still, I don't know why it makes me laugh.
You're welcome.
That's the coolest. Thank you. No, I'm going to use that from now on. That's fucking awesome. But
Yeah.
I mean, we've heard about that from the start. I mean, I heard about that years ago, from my dad, long before I ever, had an issue with alcohol. He talked about, dry drunks and people not working a program and all that stuff. And I mean, Mike and I mean, you and I, Mike, we've run across plenty of people that, they've got years under their belt, maybe no substances in their body, but they're fucking miserable, And I'm guessing that, Mara, probably that was the same thing. I'm guessing you weren't the happiest person on earth, right?
Oh, 100%. And I went to so many psychiatrists because I was actually more comfortable getting a psychiatric diagnosis than believing that maybe I just should need to work some steps in my life. Like it had to be depression or anxiety or bipolar disorder or something, because isn't there a fucking pill to make this better? Like give me the Prozac and the Celexa and the Effexor. And I'm not saying that there aren't people who need those things. I'm definitely not dogging the need for that for people who do need that. I will tell you that when I was arrested in 2014, my last run, I was on like 7 different psych meds. And today I take nothing but vitamins and, natural supplements. I don't, because lo and behold, I was never crazy. I was just a dry drunk. You know what I mean? But, yeah, I was miserable. And I didn't understand. Like I'd sit in meetings and I would listen, but I wouldn't follow the directives of put pen to paper and work the steps and practice the principles, because the steps are the same in Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous. So that doesn't change. It's all about doing an inventory, clearing out the wreckage of your past, making amends, forming a relationship with something higher than me, whatever I choose to call it or utilize. And I could not figure that part out. I couldn't connect the dots. It was great that worked for all of you guys, but that is not going to work for me.
Right.
I was 18 years old. I was 18. I was confused, and all I wanted was a boyfriend and a good job. And it was all bad. My poor husband was so sick. But we could talk about that later. But yeah, he died. We can talk about that too if you want. We'll talk about anything.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
So with did you have? I mean, during that time frame, again, going to meetings and things like that, did you have a sponsor? Did anyone approach you? Did you just refuse to do it, like you said, or just kind of like in there again, taking up space? And I just didn't know if there was like. We've talked to some people and we've met people that, I could do it on my own. I don't need all this stuff. But those people usually aren't sitting in meetings. So just kind of curious if you ever were approached by somebody that said, hey, I want to sponsor you or walk you through stuff, or how did that work?
Yes, I had a sponsor through the entire, I was never sponsorless. My first sponsor was in NA. She was wonderful. She was my sponsor for a handful of years. Sadly, at 10 years, she went back out. So that's when I left NA and came over to AA. And then I got a sponsor in AA, an amazing woman who I just saw on Monday. Actually, we still love each other. And she sponsored me for the rest of that 17-year period. So I remember she would say things to me like, I can't help you if you can't be honest. And we'd sit in her car and I was like, what do you mean? Because the thing is, there was nothing she could have done different. It was me that I couldn't get honest with. So I certainly couldn't get honest with her. And I could never have explained that to Mara then, but now it's crystal clear. Then I will tell you, as sure as I am sitting here in my house, I believed that I was honest and that I was doing my best. You know what I mean? It's denial. Don't even notice I am lying. That's what denial stands for. Don't even notice I am lying. There's another one. I'll give you that one for free too. So that's what denial stood for. You know, don't even notice I am lying to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
No one could have convinced me any different.
Right.
Well, and I mean, we had talked about that too, because and you, like you had mentioned, you used the word delusional a little bit ago, and I know that I was delusional because I didn't realize necessarily that the position that I was in, how bad I was. It was, and this came up during this almost 2 years that we've been doing this, that there was only one time that I actually questioned, really questioned my drinking, because I hadn't, until we were doing this, I never thought I even questioned myself, but all the shit that I was doing and as bad as I was and all those different things. And the same thing with honesty. I never thought it was a big deal, to not tell the complete truth. That wasn't a lie, or telling whatever these little white lies are or were, which, I mean, a lie is a lie, right? So I was of the same, I think of the same mindset where, I didn't realize or didn't want to believe that what I was doing was actually lying or was telling myself I wasn't lying. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
there's
lies
your cat.
don't come in colors and sizes.
Yeah, we were talking right before the recording that
I don't hate her. Don't. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. No, let her hang around. So yeah, we heard Mara's cat, and she's like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, "Yeah." Usually we have dogs in the background, which we don't have tonight. So I don't think have we had a cat meowing in the background since we've been doing this?
Maybe when Chris was on.
Oh, you know what?
Yeah, right.
Because
right. I mean, that's the odds are there was at least one of the little fuckers making some noise.
Yeah, and it was Melissa tried to get Hercules out of the room, and he was just sitting there going, "Oh."
Well, she just happens to. She stands. Her name is Alabama. She's named after Alabama Worley from True Romance, a phenomenal Quentin Tarantino film from the '90s, and she just likes to stand at the refrigerator and scream for whipped cream like a fucking crackhead, which I created because I will definitely give in to her by the end of the night. So I created this monster. My prince is over here being a gentleman. Winston, the prince. But yeah. God help me.
No, like I said, keep the cats around. No, it's fine. And that's the one thing
All right.
Well, I don't know if we told you about this, but we don't edit anything because we don't care. And if there's stuff like that in the background, we don't care. We'd rather have the imperfections that people want to call them that they're funny, right, Mike? I mean, that's what kind of makes us, I don't know, makes us a little bit, I don't want to say unique. That's the wrong way to put it, but I don't think you listen to any other podcast where we've had some of the shit that's happened in the background of our podcast. So it's fun. It's part of our charm, right?
Right.
Well, good. Now you'll get to hear her getting whipped cream. Here's your whipped cream.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, turn your camera on.
All right. The cat's doing whippets. Right on.
Right. Yeah, Mara's spreading whipped cream all over her cat. That could go in a bunch of different directions too.
That could.
It count if it's whipped cream. Free lab.
Right. And see, now you're halfway across the room, so we can barely hear you, but that's okay.
You can't hear me?
Where are you?
I'm right here.
It sounded like you were farther away. Yeah, it's weird.
No,
you
I
got
didn't
your
go anywhere.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
but anyhow, so you were because you just said you got arrested, and that's when you went into the Jean Marie house. So I know there was more about that. You were involved in some other things. So tell us a little bit about that, because you have kind of dipped into that a little bit. I personally, I don't know that I've ever heard your whole story. So, but you were involved in something that got you arrested, right?
Well, I mean, what got me arrested was that
Crime.
I was supporting. Yeah, I was supporting my. Yeah, I was supporting my hair. Well, I had a husband, and I also had a boyfriend. So they knew about each other. Honestly, at the beginning of my sobriety, I thought that I was just this really hot chick that had two dudes, but really, I don't think either of them wanted to fucking deal with me. So they kept pawning me off on each other. But, my husband was wonderful and he loved me to death. He was significantly older than me. He was 15 years older than me. And he was very sick, physically sick. And my boyfriend, who, karma's hilarious because my boyfriend ended up leaving me for a man. So there you go, Mara. There's your karma. my boyfriend was great, and they were both just really good guys, but I was a mess in both of their lives. And I also had a daughter, and my husband just didn't want me to leave and take her. So he was like, I understand our marriage is kind of gone. Just don't leave me and take our kids. She's all I have left to live for. Cool. I'm going to hang out with this guy. And that guy, as decent as I think he tried to be in his life, he was a heroin addict and a crack addict. And he kind of turned me out on the needle. He wouldn't let me use the needle, but I eventually stole one from him and taught myself how to shoot up. And he taught me how to shoplift and, boost to make money. And that's what I was doing that day. I was driving around in my husband's car with my boyfriend, and we were shoplifting, waiting in a parking lot for the loss prevention people to leave. Must have just either nodded out or done, I don't know what we were doing, but the car was already full of stuff we had stolen that day. And when we came to, the cops were surrounding us. About 5 cops were surrounding the car, and car was in my name, so all the drugs were mine legally.
Wow.
Right.
Okay.
So, I had been a drug and alcohol counselor for 8 years in that city where I got arrested. So that was the biggest humiliation at the time, was getting pulled out of the car by police officers that had known me from the other side of things, right? So I had sat on like opiate task force boards with the judges and the POs of this city, and now here I was getting arrested in that city. It wasn't Cleveland. It was outlying of Cleveland, a different county. So everybody knew who I was. So it was fucking humiliating. None of the probation officers would take me on because they were so disgusted with me that they had to bring in a supervising PO just to take my case. Because by the time I got arrested, I was a disgusting street junkie, like not showering, not taking care of myself in any way or shape. So when the cops pulled me out, he was like, "You stink." I was like, "Yeah, well, you'll have that." So
yes, you will.
So yeah, crime and all the unsavory things is why I got arrested. So
didn't you say that you went through some sort of initiation the day before? Did I miss that part or no?
What do you mean?
I thought you said when you were talking to us, were you involved in any like gang activity or no?
No, not like not real gang activity. No,
okay.
No, that wasn't me. Did I? Unless I was making a joke. I'm always saying weird shit, so it might have been.
And that might have been it because you showed somebody the picture and you said something about you went through an initiation the day before. I think that's when we were at the retreat, but yeah, you might have been messing with somebody.
Probably.
But,
yeah. No. Well, I definitely was raised around organized crime, but that wasn't not like gangbanging. Like,
gotcha.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Are you like rolling marbles around in a box or something like that?
No, that's my asshole cat. Jesus Christ, I can't even deal with her. She's slapping a ball around a circle because she knows I'm on the computer.
No, it's okay. I was just trying to figure out what it was. It's not as bad as when we had our sister on. She I'm sitting there and we're talking, and all of a sudden I hear this crinkling and it's like getting louder and louder and continuing. Finally, I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing?" She was eating caramel corn out of a plastic crinkly bag, and she's like, "You can hear that?"
Everything,
and I'm like,
right?
Yeah. Yeah, but no, it's okay as long as I know what it is. It just it sounded like
ball.
marbles. Sound like marbles rolling around in a box. But all right, so you're still the drug and alcohol counselor. You get pulled out of the car.
Know. I remember what I said at the retreat. So my mugshot, I remember it just came to me. My mugshot is so horrible because I was dope sick in jail for almost 48 hours before they finally pulled me out for my mugshot. And my eyes are all deeply sunken in my head. And I said, I look like I had just gotten jumped. I look like I had just gotten jumped into the Latin Kings. I do, though. Like, I looked like a very angry Hispanic woman in my mugshot. So, yes, that is what everyone says.
And that's probably what I heard, because I think you said that. You look like all I heard was jumped into Latin Kings the day before or something like that. And I was like, damn, this is going to be a great conversation. So that's why
I didn't
it's
not more interesting.
No, you could have. Well, okay, so You can lie about that if you want. Make up a story. Come on, it's a podcast.
She just
Well, one
said
of
it
my
would
really
kill
good
her
friends-
spirit.
I know.
I
No.
know, just fucking around. But so again, so you pulled out, you did all that. How long did you spend in jail? Because there had to be a certain amount of time until you got, obviously, or were you taking a Jean Marie right away, or how did that happen?
No. So I spent, I was in jail for a week. My mom called everybody in the world who knows me and said, if you go bond her out of jail, I will put a bullet in your head. So my mom's 100% Italian, half Sicilian, half Northern Italian. And my dad was, God rest his soul, the sweetest little Jewish guy who was like, just get the kid out of jail. And my mom's like, absolutely not, leave her in jail. So nobody came for me. I was in there on a $300 and something bond going through withdrawal. Finally could walk without thinking I was going to die. And I went in front of the judge and he said, your mom got you a bed at this Jean Marie house. And I was like, oh no, I am not about to go to some house with a bunch of women. Like, absolutely not. And I was still playing the crazy card. So I remember saying, like, do they have doctors there? Like, are there counselors? I need to talk about my feelings. And my mom came from Twinsburg to Paynesville for court. And she was like, you don't need to talk about your feelings. You need to work steps. And I was like, no, thank you. I don't want the bed. I'll take the jail time. So they sent me back to jail, spent another week in jail, and then went back in front of the judge another week later. And I was like surrendering, like, I'll take the bed. No problem. That first week, I was just an arrogant, entitled junkie. And by week 2, I was desperate. So that's how that happened.
So had you, when you got the first run around, you just quit? You didn't go in any type of detox or even any sober house or anything like that? Just did nothing the first time, right?
Glen Bay, Rock Creek. I was there for almost 4 months.
Oh, okay. The first time around?
Yep.
Ooh,
I was
the
18.
fancy place.
It was 1994. Very fancy. It's even fancier now from what I hear. But
right.
Yeah, got a boyfriend within like a first week there. The boys and the men and the women were allowed to share the same building, right? So the men were on the second floor, the women were on the first floor, but they'd let us watch movies together. So I'm like giving old fashions under the covers, like during movies, like, oh, isn't that what this is? Sobriety's great.
Right.
I was 18.
So it was traditional. The men were on top.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Doing not much of anything.
Right.
Traditionally.
Exactly.
But yeah, like I didn't know if you actually did anything like that the first time. But so yeah, you just got to detox and get through all your shit actually sitting in a jail cell, huh?
Yep. Yeah, it was very painful, very uncomfortable because I was drinking a fifth a day. I had a heroin habit, I had a crack habit, but I was also prescribed Valium and Klonopin. So I was taking 60 milligrams a day of Valium, a lot of Klonopin. So I was actually going through pretty severe withdrawals that had to be monitored by the jail staff. So they were monitoring that I didn't die, but they did not give me anything to take the edge off.
Right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so making sure probably more so from the alcohol that you didn't go into like have a fucking seizure or something, right?
And the benzos, yeah. But that was it. They didn't even give me blood pressure meds. I remember they gave me a couple Pepto-Bismol tabs, but I never got severe enough to even qualify for like, sometimes they give clonidine, which is for high blood pressure. I wasn't even, they didn't give me that even. They just monitored me and made sure that I didn't have a seizure, but I got no medical assistance in the withdrawal. It was pretty brutal.
Right. Well, and I know that, Mike, you ended up doing the same thing pretty much as I ended up going through. I mean, were you 6 or 7 days of detox, Mike?
7.
7? Okay, yeah, I was 6. But I don't even remember the first 2 days or 2.5 days. I don't even remember. They had me on so much fucking shit to bring me off. But yeah, I couldn't. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we've learned that. I mean, we talked about that. That individual that Mike knows that ended up trying to detox on her own, from alcohol and ended up dying. And we've heard those other stories. But yeah, I can't. First of all, I can't imagine trying to do it on my own, and I didn't know the risk, at the time. But yeah, that's great. So they just kind of kept an eye on you and like, okay, let's keep her alive long enough to get her in front of a judge, right?
That's what they did. I didn't realize that my mom, because my mom's a 36-year advanced medical practitioner. She just recently retired from a long life in healthcare. And what I found out after the fact was that she was calling and talking to the jail doctor to get my stats. And whenever he said, oops, the camera went on. Whenever he said something about,
that's a good thing you have your clothes on.
I don't care. I accidentally flashed my team at work the other day because I was something similar, hit the camera by accident. I don't even care anymore. I'm too old to care. I was like, you're welcome. But my mom was in contact with the medical staff at the jail and was getting reports on what my BP was and my respirations. And she was like, nope, don't medicate her. I didn't realize she wasn't letting them medicate me.
Right.
At all.
Yeah, right.
As long as I wasn't
dying. You want to live like this? Here, pay the consequences. Good for her.
Yeah.
Well, you detoxed on your own before, right, Mike? I mean, I'm sure more than once.
Yeah, once or twice. Yeah, I did. And I've done it medically too, and all that. And I'm just glad I don't have to do it today.
Right.
Amen.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. The Keating Center was one thing, man, but I'd never, ever, ever want to go back through a fucking detox again. That was, it was fucking terrible. Just terrible. So, so were you ordered to the Jean Marie based on like in lieu of sentencing, or how was that? What happened there?
Yeah. So I was charged with felony possession of heroin because my bitch ass boyfriend, who left his syringe in the side of the car where I was, let me take the rap for it, even though it was honestly his syringe. It wasn't even mine, but it saved my life, that syringe. You know what I mean? It's
right. Yeah.
I can't be mad at him. At the time, of course I was, because I was like, you bitch, can't believe you're letting me take this charge. But I was charged with a felony. And then when I went in front of the judge, he said that he would bust it down to a misdemeanor. And it's wild because at the time I didn't care, because I really had convinced myself that I had been sober the best that it was ever going to get. At the time it was so small that I really believed that Alcoholics Anonymous wasn't going to work for me. I could not connect the dots. You know what I mean? That I was the problem. So
right. Oh, I know exactly what you mean, because that AA shit didn't work for me either.
Yeah. And I was like, who cares if I get a felony? It's not like I'm ever going to amount to anything. This is who I am. This is all I'm ever going to be. And thank God my mom showed up in that courtroom and was like, you don't want a felony on your record. Because see, if that would have pled out, if I would have taken the felony, they would have released me and bound it over to the grand jury. And I could have just gotten out and then gone back to what I was doing. And I remember my mom saying, just go to treatment and take the misdemeanor. And I was like, fine, fine. Because it wasn't that big of a deal, which is interesting because, I am actually finally paying the money to have my misdemeanor taken off my record. I never really had to worry about it because I was in drug counseling and they didn't care about having a misdemeanor. But I'm at this place now where I don't want it on my record anymore, But at the time I was willing to take a felony because I thought that's who I was. I was a felon. So who cares? Leave it.
Right.
Wild. So yes.
Right. Yeah. Well, speaking of being dishonest with yourself, right. I'm a fucking piece of shit junkie felon, and that's what I am. Except you weren't.
I wasn't. I know, right? Wild.
You just needed to do a little work on yourself, and it turns out you're not that person. Pretty fucking wonderful.
Imagine that. Yep.
Well, I mean, it sounds like we're about to get into the solution, right? So, Mike, why don't we? What do you think? Take a break real quick.
Absolutely. We'll be back with the solution right after this word from our sponsor.
Hey everyone, it's your friends at Sober Not Mature.
Hi there.
Yes, it's both of your friends this time. Hi Mike, how are you?
I'm well. How are you, Bill?
I am doing well, but we do have a purpose. We actually usually talk about our one website, but we actually have two websites now. So two websites in one. All right, so everyone knows we still have the podcast website that is www.SoberNotMature.com. And we just launched the store website, so we also have that. Do you know what the website address is on that one, Mike?
Of course I don't.
It's pretty easy, Mike. It's www.SoberNotMatureShop.com.
So
But from the podcast website, you can still hit the store link and get into the web store, or you can access it from our Instagram page through the highlights. We've been posting quite a bit about it, and we'll continue to do that. But do you know what's on the second website, Mike?
Well, there's a store. There are products that you can purchase for you and your loved ones.
Well, Mike, do we still have merchandise?
We have merchandise. Well, we got T-shirts and coffee mugs and all kinds of crap.
And one of the coolest parts, we also do have all the recovery books from Hazelden, which is kind of a big deal.
That is a big deal.
Yeah, at least for us. So all the books that we read, God Grant Me, 24 Hours, the Big Book, the 12 and 12, all of those books are available for sale on our website. And again, that store website is www.sober.
Trying to help, man.
I know you are. You're not helping, though. Okay, now I got to say www.SoberNotMatureShop.com. .com. Visit that today, or visit the podcast website, which is, again, the podcast website. So
www.SoberNotMature.com.
Did you just say sober but not mature?
Yeah, sure. Write that down.
Yeah, like fucking mush mouth or something. All right, everyone. You've suffered enough with this, and we'll get back to what we were talking about previously. So visit the websites, though. All right, everyone. Welcome back to The Solution. Starring our good friend Mara and her cat.
And my cat. Two cats.
The two cats and their balls.
Yeah. Yes.
Hello. But no, so yeah, you get the obviously misdemeanor sentenced to, or in lieu of, whatever it is, you happily trot into the Jean Marie house.
As we all do.
Right. And lived happily ever after, right? Is that, I mean, we could wrap up now, right?
Oh my God. I wish. It's so funny.
Right.
I actually, I didn't happily do anything. I was miserable, angry, very angry, to the point where people would actually pull me aside and say, "Are you ever going to smile?" Like, I was just miserable. Yeah,
it's a good thing you didn't know anyone like that, Mike. Right? That was angry, and I was an angry motherfucker when I went into Mike. Like, we've talked about that on here too, and some of the things that he remembers, I'm like, oh shit, you remember that? And I'm like, I said that or acted that way. You know, it's been, thankfully, it's not out of my mind, but it's been long enough, and obviously changes have been made over the years where I can't even imagine that person anymore. But it's weird to look back, but I don't ever want to forget how fucking angry and miserable and pissy and everything else I was at that time, because, man, I don't want to be that person today ever, you know. So
oof, same.
Yeah. So, okay, you walk
awful
in there and you're angry and all that stuff. And well, kind of walk us through how things went during that time frame.
So my mom dropped me off with a roll of quarters, a carton of cigarettes, and 2 lighters, and said, "Do not use these quarters to call me. You can use them to call anyone else, but your family is done with you until you're willing to show us that you're different, not tell us that you're different." Because she had 17 years of bullshit to come, right? You know what I mean? Like, I had brought a grandchild into this world. My mom had been cleaning up my mess as a quote unquote sober woman for 17 years. She was done. Like, to the extent where I like to tell this story because I think it's pretty cool. For my 5-year sobriety anniversary, 5, not 1, not 2, not 4, my 5-year sobriety anniversary, she gives me the code to the garage so I can go into her house when she's not home. Mm-hmm. That was my gift.
Yeah. Yep.
So, you know, the Jean Marie house in the beginning, it was just, you know, no, my mom didn't want to come see me. She sent me a care package with some tampons in it once, and some soap and some deodorant to make sure I had my basic needs met. But I was not going on visits on Sundays like the other girls did. I was not coming back from my visits with bags of Victoria's Secret sweatsuits. Like, I was wearing donations because I was, didn't have very much of my stuff. My husband came about halfway through my halfway stay and took me grocery shopping, and my selfish, ass self was just like, it was all about me. What can you get for me? What can you
Mm-hmm.
buy me with, with your money? My daughter had been sent to live with my sister in Phoenix. So that was one of the biggest things, was losing her at the time. So I had a 4-year-old child. She has some special needs due to some complications in my pregnancy that resulted in her being denied oxygen at birth. So instead of taking her to speech therapy, occupational therapy, all of the therapies, I was too busy getting high. So my daughter was very, very underdeveloped by the time I went into Jean Marie, and my sister took her in Phoenix and started giving her a life. So I was without my kid. My animals were put down. Like I said, I had 4 animals that were all euthanized on the same day. My husband had to do that. And I just felt like I had nothing left in the world. I was sad. I didn't know what was ever going to happen to me. And I didn't have any hope. And my story, I do believe in a higher power that I choose to call God. I was raised Jewish and Catholic, and I had a Jehovah's Witness babysitter I was everywhere growing up, and I don't believe in
Right.
organized religion. I'm not a churchgoer. I'm not a synagogue attender, and I don't go to the Kingdom Hall, but I do believe in God. I believe that God is love. That's my belief system. And during and my belief is also that God is positive energy. So I believe I have to communicate with that positive energy every day, or else I'm going to be negative. And I look at it very much like plugging into a wall or a socket. So without those visits, without the distractions of my family pouring into me during that time, I was able to build that relationship with people in Alcoholics Anonymous and build a relationship with my higher power. And I believe that saved my life, because a lot of the girls I saw who did go home every Sunday and come back with bags of clothes and get their kids back right off rip and get their husbands back right off rip. A lot of them, most of those people are no longer sober, and some of them are dead. So,
Right.
having to work for every single thing I've gotten has made it very worthwhile to me. It makes it harder
Right.
to lose when you
But
know what I
exactly.
mean?
You value it because you had to earn it. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Yeah.
that's what Jean Marie was for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was kind of the same way with the Keating Center. Although my mom did give me an allowance. She gave me a $20 a week allowance, and she did buy chips and gave Mike and I cookies and
Mm-hmm.
over time and stuff like that. But and yeah, that's she used to make oatmeal chocolate chip cookies, and when we were
Those are like my
still,
favorite cookies.
God, I
yeah,
miss those.
I know it might not have been till we were 3/4, because I remember bringing them down into the 3/4 room. It might have been
Mm-hmm.
halfway, but I'd bring them in this. It was like this a container that used to have like caramel corn in it. So it was like a big Tupperware dish, but a larger one, And so she'd fill that up, and I remember bringing that back to the Keating Center, and I would fucking hide it, because there's just
Because we're fucking animals.
there's just a bunch of fucking
Pigs,
animals around
right?
there. But even at that time, I think Mike, you and I think I shared them probably with Tom and maybe one
Mm-hmm.
other person. But like when I bring them back when we were in the 3/4 dorm, I think I shared them with everyone. But yeah, then our mom started making so Mike his own separate batch, so he got his
Mm-hmm.
cookies, and I'd get mine. But and that's the thing though, and I did man, I got and watching a lot of the guys that were at the Keating Center at that time frame that didn't have anywhere to go, nobody to go home to, nobody to help them out, anything like that. And my mom lived in Medina at the time, so every Sunday she'd drive up and back to pick me up, and then up and back to drop me off, completely around my schedule, because I had to be back at a certain time. She'd either make dinner early or make dinner for me to take back because I had to go to a meeting, but I mean, I must have I didn't take advantage of it. I know that much, and I know I appreciated it, and I did work, when I went down there. So for whatever reason, and completely 100% against my nature at that time, I didn't just take shit, which still blows my mind, because I don't know where that transition happened for me, of why I wasn't taking advantage of the situation. Even at the Keating Center, Mike. I mean, I sat there and I was stubborn. I did everything I was told, but I didn't participate right away, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I just I literally I followed the path, did against my will, I, again, just shut my mouth and crossed my arms and said, I'll listen to these motherfuckers, but I'm not saying a goddamn thing. And that's exactly what I should have done. but but I did it
Right.
without even realizing that I was doing it. I thought I was being obstinate where I was actually helping myself. Um, but I mean, we saw, I don't even know how many guys, we tried to figure it out. What do we think? 100 guys, 150 guys in that summer
Right.
that went through there. And, so many people, went back out and died and all that sort of things. People that we see to this day, at the Keating Center events, that are back at the Rock. I mean, 13 and a half years later, these guys are back there again,
Right.
But for the grace, we always say, that there goes I or he or we or whatever it is. But I don't know. I don't know what happened to me, but I'm glad it did.
Right.
And it sounds like
It's
same
beautiful.
thing sounds like it happened to you too, Mara. I mean,
Katie Patton calls it the connect. It's the moment that your heart connects to your head. You know what I mean? That it just the connection occurs. It's like the longest road ever, but once it occurs, it's like you don't ever want to lose it again. And yeah, that was it.
Well, Marty has a better way of saying it. The popping sound when your head comes out of your ass.
Yeah, that would say that.
And when I used to do group and stuff, I'd talk about that with the guys. I'd be like, he used to say that to me and it pissed me off, man. He's like, pull your head out of your ass. And I'd be like, fuck you, man, because I thought he was calling me stupid. What I didn't, when I figured out eventually, like when my head came out of my ass, is when my head's up my ass, everywhere I look, all I can see is myself. And when my head comes out of my ass, I actually see that there's other people in this world that I affect and that affect me. And I went, oh, fuck. All right. That makes sense.
Right.
People that benefit from your sobriety, instead of just getting hurt by your hurtful nature.
Exactly.
Yeah,
well,
the
biggest lie that we tell ourselves, and we believe it with all our hearts, we're not hurting anybody but ourselves.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And it's right. We unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to look at it, we affect other people. It's just all about how we affect them. It used to be we didn't give a fuck and we thought we weren't hurting other people. We were, I'm locking myself in a motel room somewhere, So I'm just, I'm not affecting other people. But yes, locked in that motel room 100 miles away from anybody I know, I'm still hurting other people. And I got to remember that, I've got to remember that everything I do affects people. So what the fuck am I doing? Yeah. Am I being positive or am I being negative? And today, hopefully I'm being positive. I don't always feel like it. And I don't always feel like I want to, but got to remember I have to.
Right.
It's wild.
Yeah, and it's that ripple effect, and we've talked about that plenty of times. We used to spread all these negative ripples, out to everyone, and everything we did and every person we touched, we fucked with in a bad way, But now we have that opportunity to to do things differently, and hopefully, whether it's this thing we're doing or whether we're sharing in a meeting or interacting with somebody like at the retreat we went to, shaking somebody's hand or listening to somebody's story or hanging around in one of these groups a little bit longer, we never know who we might be affecting in a positive way. But then again, still, even to this day, we got to watch ourselves, because who might we be affecting in a negative way? There's always somebody watching, learning, and listening. And Mike said it perfectly. He said it plenty of times, but I know a few episodes ago, maybe a month or so ago, he said all of us, and something we heard years ago, everyone can act good for 60 minutes a day in a meeting. But then,
Mm-hmm.
Mike, you had said from the Our Father to the Serenity Prayer, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. From the Serenity Prayer to the Our Father, it's fucking easy. It's from the Our Father to the Serenity Prayer that we got to keep on our toes, man. Make sure we're doing the right thing.
Matters.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. That's where it matters, not in the church basement.
It was funny
100%.
today on the way out here. I had stopped at I don't know where the fuck I was coming out here, and I just stopped at pulled off the highway and stopped at a Subway. And I've been to order something. And I'm sitting down eating, and I was close-ish to the door, and I had a few different napkins, and one I had already used. I wiped off some stuff on the table, so I just had this folded up napkin. And somebody opened up the door to either come in or come out, and the wind blew in and blew this napkin from my booth over to the next one, like on the bench part. And I saw it. I'm like, well, that's kind of fucking weird, just kind of blew my napkin over there. And then at the end, I almost walked away without picking it up. And I'm like, literally something in me. I'm like, I got to pick up the napkin. And then as soon as I picked it up, it reminded me of when we first got sober, walking into a bathroom, or all these little things we were taught. Picking up that napkin meant nothing to anybody but me, and it, okay, so I don't pick up a fucking napkin. So fucking what? But if I pick up a napkin, I'm doing something, I'm not changing the world by picking up a napkin, but again, it means something to me. I'm leaving that little Subway restaurant, hopefully in the same or better condition than I walked in, and that's what this thing is about. All these little things, and it used to irritate me, because I remember that going into a bathroom in like a gas station or something like that, a couple of months sober, and you do the whole, again, paper towel and throw it towards the can and it misses. I used to just fucking walk out, and I was doing that, and I'm like, it was this overwhelming need to pick it up at that point. And thankfully it's that way now. If something like that happens, I'm like, fuck, I gotta pick that up. and it's the little things,
It's wild that it's wild. But you know what? That's Boy Scout shit. That's literally what you're taught in the brownies and the Cubs. Like, you're taught to leave. You're taught to leave, people, places, and things better than you found them. As simple as it sounds. From a conversation to a room to a gas station, you know what I mean? That's what. But we don't listen to that shit. That shit's dumb. That's dumb shit.
Right.
Until you get sober.
That's corny.
Now it's life saving. Yeah. Now it saves our lives.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, but again, doing it over and over and over again, it's just kind of part of who we are, which is cool.
Right.
And but wild, because I don't care about things like that.
Yeah, I know.
without a program, I do now. Now it matters to me. It's part of who I am. But before, hell no.
No.
Yeah, and I mean, it's all of it's kind of corny. All the things we do, the prayers, the meditation things, the readings, the anything we do, the processes. It's if somebody's looking at it from the outside, once again, like you just said, Mara, that doesn't have a program, so that's kind of weird. This little process and everything that people go through, but it is corny as it is, or as ridiculous as it seems, or meaningless possibly to somebody from the outside, it's fucking everything. Because without without the program, without the steps, without the everything that we do, without this process in this routine every day, and maybe that's a question too, because we usually, we talk to a lot of people about that. I mean, Mike and I have a routine that's pretty similar on a daily basis, but so from like when you get up in the morning on a typical day, whether you go to a meeting that day or not, do you have a specific routine that you do every single day, no matter what?
Yes.
Okay.
To the point
where
I annoy myself. Oh, it's not private. No, no.
You're just
sometimes
you're like
spicy.
Yes. Oh, spicy.
I know.
Hang on.
No, I'm not sure in that part.
Hang on. Depends. Wait a second. I'm just getting a pen here. Getting a pen. Go ahead.
You're not that lucky. I'm not getting. I'll tell you later. I'll text it to you. I'll text it to you. No, awesome. Cool. You know what? I have not gone a day. I will be honest with you. I've not gone a day without making my bed since I got sober, whether I'm at home at someone else's house or in a hotel room. Even if I'm in a hotel, I will make my bed. I guess the only times I haven't made my bed is the one time where there was twice where I had like the flu from hell, or when I had COVID, and there were a few days where I didn't get out of bed to make it. But every single time I've gotten out of my bed, I've made my bed. So the first thing I do in the morning is I get up and I make my bed. I then will engage in some sort of meditation. And my meditation almost always closes with, God, please show me how I can be helpful to others. Because I finally have believed in the fact that if I am of service to God and to others, that I don't have time to be caught up in my own bullshit. So that doesn't always mean service to other alcoholics. I work in hospice right now. So hospice is a very service-oriented profession. You literally only get the chance to do end of life correctly one time. You can't screw this up because you're not going to get another chance. So a lot of my service work is through my job. How can I do something extra for this person or their family at probably the hardest time of their life? Or service is how I close my morning meditation, my morning prayers. I do pray. I don't always pray on my knees. I'm not a big believer in that, but I do believe in conscious contact with the higher power of my choice, whatever that is. I live by myself with my cats. So I do a lot of talking to God all day. Like, I don't know what you're telling me right now. I don't know what you're doing, but I'm going to trust you. I'm really annoyed with you right now. This is fucked up. Like, I don't know why are you sending me on this mission, God? Or why did you send this motherfucker back into my life? Or why are you doing this? Or what, but those are how my conversations go with my higher power. Go to work. Oh, I definitely, feed my cats usually the same time every day. Go to work, come home, do whatever I have to do around the house. I have some work stuff I have to do every single day to close out my day, some computer stuff, plan for my next day because I'm in sales and marketing. So I look at what my next day looks like. I lay out my outfit like a fucking first grader. Like, oh, what am I going to wear tomorrow? Which jacket? And hang it up. And then I go to bed. I go to a meeting and come home and go to bed.
Right.
Very boring, but very boring. But I'm sure you guys could relate. Get me out of my routine, and I will lose my fucking mind. I do not do well at other people's houses. At other places, like I need to know where are my little mango treats that I like to eat every night for dessert? Where's my oat milk? What am I doing? Where's my favorite cup? Like I'm very structured now. It's wild. Very structured.
Yeah. And I mean, I know Mike is too, and I mean we fuck around with each other back and forth about certain things, but and I mean we lived together, not just at the the 3/4 house, but we got to know each other's isms. I think at that point would probably be the right way to put it, right, Mike? And then then living together in that upper that we lived in. Same deal. I mean, we figured out, and even at the 3/4 house, anytime we had a new guy come in, we would actually sit down with them. And I was probably the first one to do it. I'm like, okay, here's when I get in the shower. Bob gets up at this time. He goes to the bathroom. I get in the shower. Then this person does. Because basically it's like this. When these new people come into our situation, I'm like, I got to be out of the house at a certain point. And this is when Bob goes in. This is when Mike goes in. This is when we've got this set. You can fit in anywhere you fucking want, but don't get into my shit, And like at the retreat, So when we got to that retreat and, we went over for dinner and stuff like that, the only thing when I first thought about it, I'm like, where am I going to do my reading? Because Mike and I were kind of like shooting the shit about that. And he's like, I'm going to sit in the car because that's where I'm going to smoke anything. I'm like, oh, that's a good point. But then we ended up downstairs. And there was the breakout rooms. So both mornings, I get up early, and I went downstairs, and that coffee pot worked, So I grabbed coffee, and I went into one of those side rooms. I did my readings, I did my prayers. I went back down there, and I'll usually that's when I do some of the social media updates for this and on Instagram and stuff like that. But I took that time away from everyone. I heard a couple of people come down the stairs. Nobody popped their head in. I was telling Mike, I'm like, nobody's going to fuck with me. Even if somebody popped their head in, everyone's there for the same goddamn reason,
Right.
They're going to realize that I'm sitting in there, I'm taking time for myself, but it was extremely important. I wasn't worried about it because I knew I'd figure it out, but it was important to me. I planned that out in my head. Where am I going to do this shit in the morning? When our mom died, we talked about that on one of our episodes. We were in this Airbnb with 14 fucking people. If all else fails, if I'm someplace for Christmas or holidays or somebody's house, I'll go in the bathroom in the morning when I'm brushing my teeth and doing my contacts. I'll do my prayers in there while I'm doing that because they're mine. And then my readings I'll do out, in front of people. But people know what I do. People know what Mike does, But I don't want my routine fucked with, and it's a non-negotiable. I'm going to get those done one way or the other. So either way, even if I got to tell somebody, you know what, Give me 10 minutes, give me 15 minutes, whatever the deal is. I would have went in the stall in the bathroom at that retreat if I needed to do my readings, if that's the only place I could have gotten privacy. It doesn't matter to me. I just want to get it done, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
Right. But
I
it
get
will
it.
be
I'm
done.
the same way.
Oh, no fucking, no fucking
Right.
shit, you know? Yeah. But
it's wild. I'm about to have surgery at the end of December, some pretty serious surgery. My family's going to be here with me, my mom and my 2 sisters. So how many people is that? 2, 3, 4 Italian women in my tiny house. I don't like, I just know that it's going to be something. My routine's going to be messed with. I'm not going to be able to go to the bathroom when I want to because someone might be in there. It's going to be wild. I have to surrender that I can't be so rigid all the time, but that rigidity has also saved my life.
Oh,
so
right.
it's weird.
Yeah, well, you know, like all of this shit, man, it's finding that balance. And yeah, sometimes, you know, it's funny. I don't know if you guys experience this, but like, you know, okay, first of all, I didn't want to go to the retreat. I really didn't.
That's okay.
Kind of for some of these reasons, right? You know, I'm gonna be out of my routine. I'm not gonna. I've got a fucking perfectly good house right here. Why am I going to this place? You know.
Who are you telling? Who are you telling?
Right. Exactly. I know. Right. Okay. So anyway, so we got there and it turned out to be wonderful. I had a great time. It was all uplifting and all that shit, and I felt really, really good. Right. You know, we left. My home group is Sunday night, so I went to my home group. It was all great. You know, I'm in spiritual high and all this shit, all this happy crap. And then for the next 2 days, going back out into the real world with all these other assholes out there, you know, because I mean, all weekend, right? We're surrounded by people who are there for the same reason and people just like us, and it was wonderful. Right. And God, the next 2 days, I was fucking pissed that I had to be out with normies and assholes. Okay. So I'm not alone in that.
Right. Yeah.
No, actually, if you listen at the closing ceremony, you didn't hear it because it was really getting loud in there because all the people came in. But one of the last things that Kevin says that normally when we have the closing ceremony is he goes, "Don't forget as you go out into the real world, everyone else was not at a retreat all weekend. So they'll look, you know, be careful because people are still out there being assholes." That's one of the things. So obviously it's a common thing.
Apparently I missed that. God damn, that would have helped.
Yeah. Every time that's how he closes the weekend. By the way,
of course he does.
There is a
of course he does.
It's coming up in March 15th through 17th, if anyone wants to come.
I think we're planning on the June one, but yep.
June is rad. It's so nice outside, and we go in the water and everything. It's so much fun. So I'll see you guys. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
I won't be in the water, but you could swim.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what when you were asking me about, you know, if anything, and we brought that up on the podcast when we had talked about it afterwards. That you know that how did we like it? Was anything different or whatever? And same thing I told you. I mean, I had a wonderful time. That's my only thing. It would have been nice if the weather was nicer, but that had nothing to do with the retreat. That just had to do with would have added one more layer to the thing. You know, the retreat itself, the structure, everything was fucking wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. It's great. And I mean, like Mike said, you know, being in, and that's always the cool part about going to a meeting, any type of meeting, you know, for the most part. You get some meetings where people are fucking around and just there because they have to be and whatever. That's fine. You know, but in a retreat like that, that's a commitment because people not only taking time out of their lives, but there's a commitment, a financial commitment and a time commitment, you know, so people are really into being there, you know, and again, all there for the same reason. And it was spectacular. It was just wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah,
it was great.
I think it's everyone should do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, really.
I mean, we wouldn't have been there if you wouldn't have asked us to be. Trust me.
Yeah,
I do wish more of our friends would come. Like I wish, but I think I don't know if it scares people or if they think it's some weird ass kumbaya bullshit, but it's not. It's very cool. It really is. Right. People just need to have an open mind because just the setup of it and hearing the steps, but you're required to talk about the steps from the literature. So it's not your opinion on the steps. It's the steps. I think it's brilliant and effective.
Yeah, and right. It's not your opinion, but it is your personal experience with the steps. Right. And yes, we're all there. We're all the same. None of us are different, all that good stuff. But, clearly we all approach them slightly differently, how we incorporate them into our lives. And it's very cool to hear other people's opinions and how they do it, how they work it, and how they do incorporate it into their lives. And so clearly, yes, my way works for me, but I also want to know how your way works for you. It expanded my understanding. It was great. I loved it.
Thank you. I'm so glad you guys came.
Oh, it was great. But I mean, Mike's right. I mean, neither one of us, and again, it's not like we didn't know there's retreats or anything like that, but never once in the 13 and a half years that we've been sober, and Mike and I are really close. We never had a conversation about, hey, that'd be great to go to a retreat someday, right? The conversation never happened, but here's the thing. And this is what we were taught, that if first of all, you asked us. So like Mike said, thank you. But that's the thing. You asked us, and there was a purpose for being there. If it would have been, I don't know, just some random person that said, hey, there's a retreat coming up. Hey, great, thanks, nice.
Right.
But it's
I mean, Cook's Forest. I've never fucking gone. Right. It's a big camping thing over in Pennsylvania. Huge sober thing. I mean, probably shit. I know hundreds of people that go all the time, and I'm like, I don't want to go lay in the dirt. That's why I fucking pay my mortgage.
I know. I get it. Same.
But I mean, going there and having that opportunity to, because that's, you mentioned service and stuff like that before, having that opportunity to, to get something out of it, but also be of service, and just like Mike said, getting different ideas. All the prayers that I do, it's not a long thing, but it's long-ish, but every piece of it I've learned, or I've taken it from somebody. None of this shit I'd never prayed before in my life, So the prayers, the books that we read, the processes that we go through, these are all things that we've taken from people, that have been given to us freely. But yes, we take them from people, but in a positive way, and we put those into our lives. And the one that we talked about on the podcast, which still I'll mention again in case anyone's listening to this and they didn't hear the other one, is there was one individual that, and through all the little groups that we were in, Mike and I were only in one together. And we happen to be in this one together, and this individual is talking about every morning she wakes up as if in her mind she's at the edge of a cliff. Her toes are right at the edge of a cliff. And with every piece of her program that she does, whether it's a reading or a prayer or a meditation or doing service work or this and that, she moves slowly away from that cliff. So by the end of the day, she can't see the edge anymore. But then she wakes up the next morning and she's right at the edge of that fucking cliff again. and I told her, I said, that was so impactful to me because I'm such a visual person. That's number one. But literally, I could see myself. It's practical, because that's it. If we're on the edge of drinking every single day we wake up because we're starting over again. It's this sober Groundhog Day that we got to live every fucking day, which is good, But if we don't do any work, we're going to fall over that cliff sooner or later, So it was perfect, and that was just one thing that we heard. But man, I'll never forget that. It's just so visual. It's great.
I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool.
And going back to my experience of my relapse after all those years is I wish that I had fallen off the cliff a whole lot sooner than I did, because I'm telling you, waiting over a decade to fall off the cliff was pure torture. So it's almost more of a gift to fall off the cliff sooner. But I love that. Right. I love that practical, because I've heard the thing where, here's the drink, here's me. And then then I put something down and go, okay, this is prayer. And then I put something else down. This is meditation. This is sponsorship. This is meetings, and everything I put between me and that drink. And then as I take everything away, I get even closer. But the cliff version is actually, the cliff notes are actually, I can see that in my mind's eye, and that's brilliant. So I'm glad, I love that.
And wasn't Mike? I think she might be a year, or I mean, she's young-ish. I know in she hasn't been sober like like years and years.
Right.
But I mean that's the other thing too, and we've talked about this, is that it was so nice getting the mix of people that were there. Number one, from ages and backgrounds, but also lengths of sobriety, because you get some of these, and we see it all the time. You get these people that are in that that 1 to 2 to 3 year sober range. I mean, that's when people are just, I mean, they're fucking crazy in a good way. They're all this and they're all
On
happy and
fire.
they're
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
fire.
exactly.
And it's
Yeah.
great, because I like being around those people now. I do everything that I do every day, but it's just become a part of my life. I appreciate it and all that stuff. But I have to remind myself to be grateful every day. I have to remind myself that I can't control shit. I have to remind myself that I have to be patient and it's somebody else's fucking will and not mine. All those things I literally have to remind myself of at least twice a day, probably more. Yes, more most days. But you get these new folks that you're around and you see just that fire, and it's like, fucking A, I remember that. I want to be like that for a couple of minutes here, but it does. It's a recharge. It's a recharge being around those individuals, and that's exactly what the retreat was to me. It's a refocus. It's a recharge. It was just rebirth is too fucking corny even for me to say, but it was just a recharge of the whole thing, So,
Yeah, but that's good. That's good. I love it. Tell everyone about it, because I would love for everyone to experience it at least once, because
okay,
it
well,
really
here,
is
hang on one second.
renewing.
1 second. Everyone, go to a retreat. Okay, there we go. I just told everyone.
Thanks.
No, yeah,
Good looking
thanks. Thanks. So what else? I mean, tell everyone else what you've done over the last 9 years, because you sent me a text. I could just read the text that you sent me because it made me laugh. But I mean, the things that you've done, the things that you're proud of now, the things that you've gotten back in your life since you've been sober. I mean, it's been 9 years. I think some good things have been happening to you.
Oh, for sure. Well, I think the biggest gift that I was able to give back was that I did make the decision at 4 years sober to let my sister permanently adopt my daughter, which was devastating but beautiful at the same time, because it truly was, in my opinion, exactly what my God would have had me do: give her the life that she needed, and be a mother, be a real mother. And what does that mean? Some people are like, well, what does that mean, be a real mother? To me, that means doing what's in the best interest of my child, regardless of how it makes me feel or made me feel at the time. So
Right.
I had a year sober on September 17th of 2015. And then a few weeks later, October 8th of 2015, my husband died. So Rob and I had been together since 1996. He was like my first boyfriend, my first everything. And I spent, almost half my life with him. Moved out of my mom's house in with him. So, when he died, it devastated me, even though our marriage was very toxic at the end and we certainly weren't in love anymore. He was my family. He was my family. You know what I mean? And I will never, he never let me go without anything. He always defended me. He was my biggest cheerleader, my best friend in the world. Like, no one could say a word about Mara to Rob, because Rob would kill for me. So to lose him left me feeling very alone in the world. And he did die of an overdose in a sober house. A very sad death, considering he had been in some 12-step fellowship for 30 years. He'd been in one or the other. He couldn't stay sober. And he did die as a result of this disease of not working a program, and he died. So, I could not in my right mind see it fit. I'm living in a sober house. Rob's dead. How am I going to bring Brooklyn back from Phoenix back here to what? She has a mom in a sober house and her dad is dead. If she stays in Phoenix, she has all of these services. My sister got her into all the therapies. My brother-in-law was basically already raising her like she was his child. She had a mom, she had a dad, she had all of her needs met. So that was probably the biggest act of faith that I ever took in sobriety. And I remember I was working at Y Haven at the time, which is a treatment center out here. And I had some really amazing people in my life that I worked with. And this one man who is, I call him my brother, he said to me, you will be amazed at the blessings that will come into your life for this selfless act of what you're willing to do. And of course, at that time, I was like, maybe I'll get a car. Maybe I'll have a car in my name, because I was driving my dead husband's Honda, and I was like, or maybe I'll get approved for a credit card. Those were the blessings I thought were going to come to me as a result of doing the right thing. It has been, multiply that by 1,000,000. Everything. How about the peace of mind and knowing that my child is well cared for?
Right.
How about the respect, right? How about the respect? How about the option now of having that experience to share with other women when I go into treatment centers and pick girls up for meetings who have 6 months sober and want to go back to being a full-time mom, that think that they're ready to do that. How about the knowledge and the being wise now and being able to actually carry a message of experience, and because that's a huge thing. I see women relapse all the time because I got to leave treatment. I got to go be a mom. My kid's waiting for me. Or my kid's going to end up in the system. Of course, I've had wonderful things happen to me. I went back into drug and alcohol counseling, and then I left the field and got into the field that I'm in now, which is, healthcare sales, which financially, of course, is much better, but also just the amount of confidence it's built in me. Addicts and alcoholics are born hustlers, right? We're salespeople. We just are. Listen, buy this. I promise. I know it looks like, but I'm telling you, if you smoke this, it's going to change your life. Okay, whatever. How much is it? $500? Okay. I could sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman in a white fur coat. So I knew that getting sober and actually working steps, I was going to learn how to actually use my powers for good instead of evil and make a living and be successful at it. So that's another benefit of sobriety. I'm a single woman. I'm not in a relationship right now. I've gone on some dates, but nothing that's really made me willing to give up my being alone and figuring out who I am. I love this journey that I'm on. And one of the benefits of that, I bought a house for myself in my name. My name's on the deed. This is my house. You know what I mean? That's huge to me. A couple months after owning my house, I found out that, God bless this crackhead who used to live here, he still owned the land in the back that no one seemed to figure out until after I moved in, that this wasn't my whole yard. He starts showing up at my house. I befriend the town crackhead, and about 3 months later, I buy the land from him. I waited till he was nice and sick and said, "You want $1,000? Sign the land over." So I'm a landowner. I'm a landowner and a homeowner. On Monday, I'm actually, going to buy a new car. I'm going to buy the car on Monday, in my name with my income. I loved my husband to death. I loved him with everything in me, but I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that it did not benefit me to get money from his family or to claim his income or to use him for all those things. So the fact that I can say I own all these things because I have become a self-sufficient, independent woman is huge for me, because I'm not that person when I'm not sober. I'm using men to get whatever I need. So those are all, those are the benefits of sobriety.
Absolutely. Yeah. The peace of mind that we're not We trust me, because I was the same thing. Only I used women.
Yeah.
And and nothing was ever in my name. And but and then we resent them for us taking from them. I hated that. God, I fucking hated that.
How dare you be so weak to let me use you?
I know. What the fuck is wrong with you?
I know. God.
Right. But yes, but now, I know there's, the bank owns most of the house and the bank owns most of the car, but they're all in my name and I make those payments 100%. On time every month. And, it feels fucking great. Yes.
It's scary to think of giving it up. Like, even going out on dates, I feel guilty because it's like, It's like halfway through the date, I'm like, I know this isn't going to go any further. And now I feel like I'm using you. Like my conscience comes up, like I'm being a piece of shit. So let's go out for dessert, except this time it's on me just because I feel, but you know what? That's what life is about. It's about going out on a date and like learning someone and even, but communicating too and saying this isn't what I'm looking for, but A, B, and C. Where in the past, well, I got dinner this time. Maybe next time I can get some clothes. Maybe on the third time I can get a house. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or let me get a trip out of this, dude. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, I'm willing to
buy me a bracelet.
All the red flags. Yes, exactly. It's so I can't even do that today. It's not even part of who I am to manipulate somebody to get what I need. I can't do it. So
well, and yeah, with the relationships and stuff like that, and it's that communication and the I was always, I don't know, I didn't realize that you could, and Mike and I talked about this, and I think we've talked about it on here, but until I got sober, it was probably not, I don't know, probably 6, 7, 8 years ago now, but figuring out that I can actually love people on different levels, whether it's the type of love that I can have for my, my friend and my brother Mike versus, even you guys, all of the, our group, of people that we have here, and then there's the love of my children. And then, when you're talking about a dating situation, you don't have to fall in love and get married to go out on a date, and to your point is, if it's not working, having the balls these days and the integrity to tell the person, this is what I'm looking for and this is what I'm not looking for. And if it's not working out, to be able to walk away and not fucking step on somebody's feelings or fucking drag them along, and then 6 months later the person fucking hates you.
Yeah, for sure.
It's
which
not
is how my normal.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just blowing up people's lives and all that stuff. And I mean, dating apps are a fucking mess. I mean, Mike and Chris got really fortunate, because
yes,
that is not the norm.
No, it's not.
No.
And I've had the thing of it is that I've been on off and on with dating apps for years, and I've met a lot of wonderful people. I have not been in a long-term relationship since I've been sober, but it's been by choice because I meet these wonderful women. But it's again, the reason I bring up that level of love thing is that I'm not going to commit to somebody or, try to hijack somebody's life if I'm not in love with them. That's not fair to them. And it sure as fuck is not fair to me,
No.
And on top of that too, I'm fine. I can be on my own. I love being around people. I love the human connection. I love all of that stuff. But I could probably walk out tomorrow and, find somebody to use. I don't want to do that, because I don't feel good about myself. It's just not the way we have to live anymore. And it's fucking wonderful,
And one of the beautiful things is, go ahead.
No, you go.
All right. Well, I was just going to say one of the beautiful things about this is we're actually comfortable in our own skin these days, and we can be by ourselves, and it's okay.
Right.
We don't need to leech on into this other person and to make our lives complete.
Right.
No. And we are complete. No, it's weird. And to know we are complete and not have my self-worth and my happiness contingent upon, did I get a good morning, beautiful text? Because I'll tell you what, I've gotten 5,000 of those texts and it wouldn't even impress me today. That's all you got? Like, come on. But I would have sold my soul 9 years ago for someone to call me baby and say good morning. Like, absolutely. What do you want me to do? But the other piece of that too is being open about my sobriety today. If I were to get into a relationship with somebody that I don't really care about and then use them, now Alcoholics Anonymous looks like a shit show because I represent in every act that I do, I represent Alcoholics Anonymous. So I'm not going to go on these dating apps and because I'm going to have that conversation. I don't drink.
Sure.
I don't drink.
Right.
Why don't you drink? I'm in recovery. I choose not to drink. I'm in a 12-step program. If I am that asshole that strings somebody along and then finally gets the balls 6 months later after I blew their life up to end it, now AA is full of assholes because I represent that. So that's another thing I have to take into consideration.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why they didn't kill Jesus Boy at the retreat.
Yeah. Oh, man.
We told the story on here, so yeah. That was, but no, it was, and it wasn't. You know, yes, it was difficult in the moment for me and my feelings, but no, but it really wasn't all that difficult because, like you said, I was representing the program and I was practicing the principles in that particular affair, and it wasn't all that tough. I still wanted to throttle little dick, but I didn't.
Yeah. It's. I forgot to tell you, it's a Christian camp. My bad.
No, I mean
No, it's fine. I figured it out when I pulled in.
Yeah.
Oops, my bad.
No, we figured that out. He was just, he's not your typical person. I mean, you think that, like Mike said, usually a couple of words or however he put it, a couple of phrases, usually shuts people up.
I've been doing this a while. I know how to shut them down pretty quickly,
right?
Gently. Yes, I know. Just no, that's not doesn't work for me. I don't believe in any of it. It's fine. It's good. I'm glad you do. I don't.
Right. Well, that's the other thing too that I appreciated about the retreat is that there was, especially getting into the certain groups and the certain steps when we start talking about higher powers and stuff like that, and I knew. Again, it comes up. I brought up the fact that I'm not an organized religion person. I think, Mike, you probably talked about being an atheist, if I'm not mistaken.
I did.
And I'm at best agnostic. And we were able to have those conversations amongst the groups, and it's the same thing with going into a meeting. That most I can't even remember the last time that I've run across an intolerant person in Alcoholics Anonymous in a 12-step type of situation like that, that's like poo-pooed whatever somebody believes in for their higher power. That just, the thing is just know it's not us and have a higher power. It doesn't matter what it is, but there was, again, great conversations, people that believe in the, whatever the, the mainstream, the organized religion God, and then people that, are atheist or agnostic or believe in a fucking tree. I don't know, it doesn't seem to matter. And that's cool. It's having that, again, that openness and that trust that what you say in those rooms and at those retreats, you're not going to get chastised for it, and that's, that, again, fucking Jesus boy was the, this person's supposed to be, again, representing whatever the fuck he's representing and doing it in that way. I mean, it just, that's the type of person that I was more irritated because I don't want to be that guy, but I mean, he just wouldn't shut the fuck up and I'm trying to eat. That was the other thing. Dude, let's just enjoy our breakfast, man. You know what? That's it.
Yeah, he wasn't what do we say?
He was a dick. I think that's what we said.
I don't remember. Well, to each their own. Right. If it works for him, God bless him. No pun intended.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So what else?
Or pun intended.
What other wonderful words of I don't know, encouragement? I was going to say wisdom, but I don't know, whatever you want to call it. What else do you want to I don't know, portray or get out to people out there?
I don't know. I guess I was thinking in the shower today, where I do my best thinking and I have my most interesting arguments and all of the above. I was thinking, like, what could I say to somebody? And it really, as wild as it seems, and as much as I hate cliches, because sometimes I feel like cliches can be dangerous, right? Like, a lot of times these cliches are treatment cliches. They're not AA cliches. They're not in the big book. You know what I mean? Like, I could do a whole episode on that. Meeting makers make it 90 and 90. Like, no, the work steps go to, what I mean? Those are not this. But anyways, don't get me started. But I was just thinking, like, if I were to say what my favorite cliche was, or something that I wish I could have told Mara from 9 years ago, it would really be to trust the process. That's it. And what does that mean? This too shall pass is another one. What does this too shall pass means? Well, the bad things are going to pass, but guess what? So are the good things. So you better get present in this moment, because you're going to have some really hard times that are going to turn to good times, but you're also going to have some really good times that are going to turn to hard times. And if you're not in position with your support group, your higher power, and your spiritual stamina to deal with these things, they are going to knock you to your knees. So when they say trust the process, it's like, build that support group so that and know that everything eventually is going to be okay. It's already okay. You don't know it yet, but it is.
Right.
It's already okay. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's just this wild experience that I did not understand what it meant until I came through it. Cause you know, that moment that I'm sitting in the sober house and I get the call that my husband is dead, my entire life changed. Everything that I knew, I had been with that man since I was 19 years old. I was now 38 and I was a widow. Like everything I knew to be real was gone in the blink of an eye. But everything was okay. Everything was already okay. You know what I mean? It was just, it's just trust that everything's going to happen exactly the way it's supposed to. And I promise you that no amount of forcing, crying, pleading, dragging, holding on to is going to change any of it. So you may as well just surrender and trust the process.
Yep.
Right.
Beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I know I can't say anything else to top that, so I don't think Mike think Mike can either. So I think we're done, right?
Well, good. I have to brush my teeth.
No, I know, but seriously,
right.
Obviously, I mean, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you again for obviously, I know we both already said it, but thanks for inviting us to the retreat. But we really appreciate you coming.
Thank you for coming. That meant the world to me.
Oh, it was again. There's the thanks is all on this side of the table. It really, really is.
I won't fight you. Sounds good to me.
But seriously, thank you, and now is our time. You and me and Mara, we're gonna be quiet because it's Mike's time to close us out.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for listening to another episode of Sober Not Mature. Thank you, Mara, for coming on here and sharing all your stuff with us, and thank you for being our friend and all that good stuff, and including us in some wonderful things that were bigger than us. It was great. And as always, kids, go out there this week, do something nice for somebody else, be kind, be gentle, do something, and don't tell anybody that you did it. And now it's time. It is that time, kids. It is time for you to fuck off. Then keep fucking off. Keep fucking off till you get to a gate with the sign on it saying you cannot fuck off past here. Climb over that gate. Dream the impossible dream and keep fucking off forever.
Once again, the favorite part of the episode for both of us now, right, Mike?
That's right, because it means I'm done.
I know, but I love it anyhow. But seriously, Mara, thank you. Mike, I love you, brother. And you and I are gonna see each other in minutes, and then Mara, I mean, we'll see each other soon, I'm sure. But once again, thank you so much for coming.
I hope you guys don't run out of lotion tonight. Oh,
shit, that's right. Yeah,
we'll make our own.
Yeah,
I can't.
Wait, hey.
See, I could go farther than you.
Hang on, Mara, what's your address again? What is it again?
I know where she's at. We'll be there in a couple minutes.
We'll be over.
Okay.
All right, everyone. You know what? On that note, we're just going to say bye, right? Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. And now it is time for you to fuck off. Then keep fucking off. Keep fucking off until you get to a gate with a sign on it saying you cannot fuck off past here. Climb over that gate, dream the impossible dream, and keep fucking off forever.